Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Christina Shortino, if we haven't been acquainted. I'm the Resource Programs Manager here with CITE. We're excited to have you all join this morning for the CITE Google and CDW program webinar, Integrating Google Gemini into the Classroom. We welcome everyone. Please know that questions are absolutely welcome throughout. And know that this webinar will be recorded per usual and will be available on the CITE website within a week.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
If you have questions on where to locate that, feel free to reach out. I will put my email, and Crystal will put her email in the chat as well. Without further ado, we will kick it over to Rachel Swanson with CDW. Rachel is a senior education consultant. And Rachel, after you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel. Thank you for that introduction. I just wanted to say really quickly that today with me, I have a couple of people from the CDW team that are going to also be helping with the chat. So I've got my colleagues, Manuel Herrera and Jess Powell, and then my manager, Stacy Beamer as well. So if you see their names pop up in the chat, they're here to support and help. And like to reiterate what Christina was saying, please interact. You can be one of the brave ones who unmute, like I think Barry maybe said hello. Please interact, say hello, unmute. We also have a chat on the side. So if you can right now, just open up the chat in your Google Meet and let us know it will tell us your name, but maybe you can let us know your role, what you do in education, so we can kind of see who's here. And that chat is going to be active. And then I will also share a resource document in just a moment when my screen is shared. The bottom of this the bottom of the website has a bit.ly link that will get you to a note catcher that has resources on there, including the slides for today. Thank you. I see we've got, oh, and you put your districts. Thank you for doing that. Excellent. So we have technology coordinators, support assistant, fantastic. Clever at Google, clever admin. Oh, that's a cool job, Ed. I see we've got a senior manager for advanced technology and lots of integration. Cool. So today's focus is going to be on how you can use your Gemini tools to transform teaching and learning. So this is on the instructional side. Thank you so much, Jess, for posting the link to the resources. So just to kind of orient you to what I've shared with you, what I'm sharing with you is a resource document. We call it our note catcher. You can see it right here. So this note catcher is going to have links. It's going to have tabs over here. You'll see there's several tabs. We'll go over that in a second. I'll turn off my, got it. It has some helpful links. So we're going to be talking about this. This is the slide deck. We're going to be talking about Gemini and Notebook 11 today. So it's got that information, your agenda. But what I really want to draw your attention to is if there are questions that you want to get answers to that you're maybe not sure if it is appropriate for the chat, and it is appropriate for the chat, like spoiler alert. But if you're like, I want a question with an answer that I can, go back to, please feel free to use this document to document those questions. Part of the reason that the team is here is that they can answer those questions. And then you'll have this as another resource for you about these documents, or about the resources we share today.
Rachel,
Yep.
quick question. Is the link supposed to take them to the note catcher?
Yeah, does it not?
It does not, but we can fix that.
No, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to just drop the note catcher link then in the chat, and then that's what we're going to do instead. So here's the note catcher. Does it take you to the slides instead?
Yes, it does.
Sweet. I love Bentley for that. That's my favorite journey for us today. If that's the only thing that goes around today, I think we're winning. So, okay, now you've got the note catcher. Does everybody have it? Sweet. Okay, that feels a lot more. Yes. Okay, cool. I see all the people in the note catcher, so that's a lot. There's always that moment where you're talking about something, you don't see any of the anonymous little bubbles pop up in the top, and you're like, I'm alone. I'm all alone. Okay, so this is your note catcher. Please use it. Please use all of those. I just want to draw your attention over here to the tabs. We'll use those later, but there are additional resources as well down here. So we have a whole link library that we will also, if there's resources that come up from today, we'll add to that. So this is a resource doc for you to share. If it was me, I would go ahead and just hit that star and bookmark that document, but I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. You can just go ahead and do whatever works best for you. All right, so let's get started because we have a very ambitious agenda. So today we are going to, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Rachel. I'm not good at the intro part. My name is Rachel. I live in Chicago. I'm a former Chicago public school teacher. I taught and coached in Chicago for 10 years before heading into the ed tech space, which was just an incredibly exciting world for me. And if I put my LinkedIn there, because I'm not going to give you my bio, but just so you know, I've done projects with great ed tech companies like Digital Promise and Google, and most recently worked with Samsung. And then now I'm at CDW in kind of a dream job, being able to do these trainings. So I'm so excited to be here with you. So excited to share some of the resources that the CDW team provides, because we do professional learning around both this, but as well as our more technical side. So that's me. I introduced myself. It's really nice to meet you. So goals for today is just that you're leaving with a couple of ideas of how you can use Gemini in an educational context. And like I said, a really ambitious agenda. That's going to make me want to talk fast. So I'm going to try to work on that. But if you need me to slow down, let me know, okay? Cool. So in the chat, if you can just put in the number, and you can choose more than one number. It's like a choose your own number. Which of these features that you have used? Notebook LM, GEMS, Canvas, none of the above. I just kind of want to get a sense of what people are familiar with. Moving into this. Cool. Great. It looks like we have a wide range, people who are like, Rach, got this. I'm gonna be your sidekick today. It's you and me doing this together, and I appreciate that. That's not a joke. And other people who are like, I've never even heard of these things, and that's cool too. Love it. Thank you. Okay, so that's really helpful for me, so thank you for that. All right, so just really quickly, we're going to talk AI with Gemini specifically. We're talking about the ability to be able to create resources from the large language models. So AI is fed with all kinds of, I always am like, what does AI eat in order to produce the things that it produces? It's fed a ton of data from all kinds of places. And what I really want you to know about the Gemini tool specifically is this side, is that it is going to keep your data private and secure, okay? So when you have your Gemini and Education account, what's most important for you to know is that those the things that you put into your Gemini are not going to be used to train the model. Why that's important is that if you have a conversation with Gemini about maybe your something that's proprietary to your district, like your policies, and you want that publicly shared, it is not going to share that information with someone else who's looking to create their own policy document. They're not going to be like, yeah, California school district does this, and see your information show up. Oh, just a heads up, if you can mute, if you're not talking, that would be super helpful, just so we don't get any background noise. Thank you so much for that. So that's what's most important for you to know. Also, really important for you to know is we're going to be talking about Gemini a lot, and it can be confusing because like most of us have more than one Gmail or Gemini Google account. The education account is FERPA, COPA, HIPAA compliant, all the compliance, right? But how do you know that you're in that account? And that's a really great question. So you'll see that when you're about to enter a prompt, there's this little shield right here. That shield tells you that you are in a safe private account. Okay. So I say that because it was gone for like 2 weeks, and that was a sad 2 weeks for us, but they brought it back. Thank you, Google. And that's your way to know that what you're putting in there is private. So if you're about to like share, like somebody in Chicago Public Schools replied all to an email from HR about their divorce. That's kind of how that would be the equivalency, I think, of putting your personal information into a model that is using it for everybody's use. It's like replying all with your personal info. We don't want to do that. So please make sure that little shield is there. Okay. Any questions about what AI is, security, like at the basic level, or being able to use AI in your education context? Can do my teacher pause. Cool. Okay, so if you do, feel free to add those questions to the chat. Hopefully some of that is familiar, and you are able to, like this is kind of a review, but if not, all of this information is in those slides. Great question. You can enable Google AI for some groups. Oh, instead of organizational units. That's a really good question for our technical team. And I want to make sure I'm getting a specific answer for you. So I'm going to have Jess put that in the chat, in the note catcher. So I make sure that we get a more nuanced answer for you. The shield, Siobhan, the shield should appear regardless. And if it's not appearing, it might be because it was taken away for a little while, but it should be back, or it's slowly coming back. So it should appear even if you're in an EDU. So even if you're in EDU fundamentals, you should still have that shield. That's the fundamentals is the free to use version. Cool. EDU at the bottom left. Yeah. So that would be another way to know that you're in your EDU account. Thank you. Great. Cool. That being said, never put personal identifying information about students into Google as just a best practice. You don't want to be caught in a situation where you're in trouble because you talked about a student in a way that wasn't professionally within the professional guidelines. So let's just make sure that if you are putting information in, you're not naming students. All right, let's get started then. So we're going to get started on some of the basics in the Gemini app. And a couple things for you to know. Recently, like 2 weeks ago, Google just announced a bunch of updates. So I'm going to be sharing as much as I can, but things change quickly. So, it's an exciting world in AI. So things to know. When you open your Gemini app, you are going to be prompting. You're going to be using basic prompting, but it will save all of the chats that you have created. So all of the prompts they've had in the past. Recently, Google announced that they are releasing the ability to delete chats, which is cool. So like if you don't want to have your whole side toolbar have the 30,000 chats that you've had with AI, you'll be able to delete chats. Those will still be in the vault. So if you're in the admin side of things, it will still be accessible to your EDU higher ups, but for you as a user, you're not going to see it in their side toolbar. I'm going to show you that in just a second. So let's get started with some prompting stuff so you can kind of see how the Gemini tool looks. All right, so let's open up the Gemini app. So like all Google tools, to get to the Gemini app, you're going to go to the name of the tool, gemini.google.com. And if you want to do this with me, that's awesome. If you're just like, I'm here to just observe, also awesome. Please participate in the way that works best for you. So I want to just orient you to what you're seeing here really quickly. You'll see that you've got your prompt question placed here. Over here on the side, you have your side toolbar. That little Gemini icon in the upper left side is how you're going to be able to see all of those questions that you've asked in the past. You'll see you can have search chats, all of these things, gems. And then down here, you do see the EDU. I had said that you'll see that little security thing. This is when it comes back to your account. This is what it will look like right there in your prompting space. So that's how the app looks. Okay. All right, so let's talk about some prompting. How many of you, just with like a thumbs up or, in the chat, you can say me, have heard of How many of you have heard of the PARTS framework for writing prompts? I see a lot of thumbs up. Fantastic. Awesome. So if you haven't, this is Google's model. It's what they recommend, and it's in the training materials. So when we're talking with AI, one of the things that takes us from kind of a beginning user to an advanced user is our ability to prompt effectively, to ask for what we really need. It's not totally dissimilar to being a good friend or a good partner or a good parent. If we are specific and clear and asking for what we need, we're much more likely to end up with the kitchen looking clean after dinner because we were specific about what that should mean, right? Same thing with prompting. If we're really clear, we are going to know, the tool is going to be able to know and respond to us with that level of clarity. So today we are going to be using examples related to a 6th grade teacher, just as a for instance, who's teaching about ancient Egypt. I use that as an example because I was like, hey, that's fun. So I want to just come up with, if I was wanting to prompt and I'm a 6th grade teacher, I think the part that's it's like the first page of a journal. Where do I even start with that? If I'm teaching about ancient Egypt, where do I start with that? And the PARTS framework would have me look and say, what's the role of Gemini? What is Gemini's role in this situation? Like, I need you to be a thought partner for me, or I need you to be my lesson planner. Their role, what do you want them to do? Who is it for? So who are you, or who is the audience of it? What's the topic? And then how do you want it structured? Okay, these are the important things to include in a prompt. So let's use the Egypt example to show that. So I could say, I need you to be a thought partner for me to plan a unit on ancient Egypt. I am a 6th grade teacher in California, planning a 30-day unit on Egypt. I need lessons broken down by day and topic. Okay, so that's kind of what I want it to do. Now, a couple of things. One of the things that I notice about AI is AI can be very chatty, which is kind of rich for me to say since I haven't stopped talking for the last 15 minutes, but it can be a little bit chatty. So one of the things I like to say here is use as few words as possible to create the document, the resource. Okay, because I need bullet points. I'm not interested in all of that. I can also say, do not hallucinate. If you need more information, ask me, right? If I don't want us to make stuff up. That doesn't mean it won't, but it's more likely not to. Okay, so a couple of just pro tips. And then I want to hit here. And I want to just point out a couple things. This says Flash. There's a couple different options. I can do Flash, Thinking, and Pro. Pro would be a pro feature, but and that's just going to tell me Flash is going to be fast. It's going to give me my fast responses. Thinking is going to show me what it's thinking about as it's developing the response. And then Pro is what you would use if you're having more advanced math and code. So if math has been the Achilles heel of AI tools, all of them. So Pro is going to be if you have a little bit more advanced topics, you're going to use Pro. I just use Flash for most things, but you can play around with how those answer differently if you'd like. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit submit, and we'll see what it says. Cool. So what I like about this is I see already that it's bullet points, which is what I need because I get busy as a teacher, right? At bullet points, I see a couple things. It's pulling where I got the resources from. It broke it down into days like I asked it to. Okay. And obviously I would check these resources. The other thing I'm noticing is that it's pulling specifically, because I said I'm from California, it's pulling from California standards, or it seems to be. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it is. That's what it's saying it's doing, okay? All right, so I'm going to pause there and I'm going to say, given that, what would be some prompts that you might use as a teacher? What would be some things that you might just prompt as a teacher? How would you use just the basic conversational prompting with Gemini? Or how have you used it? And go ahead and unmute or write that in the chat. I see differentiation strategies for specific students by lesson and topic. Absolutely. Specific tasks and needs. Yeah. And you can follow up. I think Christy's saying like then you can ask again for specific tasks and needs. And then we're going to show that in just a second. That's fantastic. Yes. What else? Any other ideas of like how you might or how you have used the chat? If not, that's cool too. I use the chat to answer my stupid questions. So like if I'm like, does Google do this? The Gemini will most of the time get that right? Target certain grade levels and build around that level. Fantastic. Writing emails. Thank you. Jason is writing his emails to CGW with Gemini. We love that for you and for us. Thank you. All right. So there, like, honestly, I ask that question because the sky is kind of the limit with prompting, and it is at the foundation of everything else. So I like, if nothing else, I hope that throughout this whole time, you're just thinking of new ways that you can prompt the tool to help you, to support you. It's kind of like you've been given a personal assistant, but they're brand new and they don't know you and you don't know them. So how do we make that personal assistant work for you? Because 3 years from now, if you've actually trained that person about systems and plans, and you can like literally just say, I need you to write an email to, Charlie about this, and that person can be able to take it and go. And that's basically what we have to get to the point of being able to train Gemini to do, but we have to trust and we have to really teach. Okay. All right. So yes, customer emails, exactly. All of these things. All right. So that's the basic foundation of prompting. All right. That's like step one. But it doesn't stop there. Okay. So after you've started like with this prompting, there's other ways that you can prompt. So let's say, for example, I say like I always talk to it like it's an actual person. You don't have to do that. Like I'm like, this is great, with like the computer doesn't care, but I feel better about it. Okay, so can you make a visual of week 1 activities using the resources that you provide, showing what students will learn? Now, I could just ask that as a prompt, right? I can just ask it as a prompt and it may or may not create a visual for me. But this is the next step of prompting that I want to show you for the Gemini tool. And that's that there's this little button, it's like a plus sign here, where now I can actually do a couple of things. I can upload files. So if I wanted to share the California teaching standards, I could upload a file of those standards. I could insert things from my Google Drive. But I also have these tools down here, and you'll see that one of them says create an image. So I'm going to select create image here. And now when I ask it to make a visual of the week 1 activities, it's going to create an image. Now I might want to give it a little more information. So I say make it in the style of a cartoon. Okay. You could say photorealistic, you say claymation, watercolor, but I'm doing cartoon. All right, so I'm going to let it think about that for a second. I do have all of these also pre-populated just in case for whatever reason the internet goes out. And in that case, I'm going to act like one of those people on a talk show who pull out the like already cooked desserts or breakfast that they were just showing you how to make. So we're good. We're good. Okay, what do you all think about the image? Cool. yeah, there's cool images, right? So like I have week one, I'm thinking like I could put this into my learning management system, Google Classroom or otherwise. I could put at the top of a resource doc that I'm sharing with students. This would be easy to share with parents so that they know what students are learning that week, right? Yeah, it explains kind of like the activities for the day. Now, really cool thing. What if I say, okay, now translate this image into Spanish? By the way, like I speak like mediocre Spanish, so not 100% sure that I'm the person to edit this. And it would be good if it showed it to us. Yay! But if anybody does speak Spanish, I would be very curious your take on how the translation worked. But you can have it take all of these resources, whatever you make, and translate them, which is fantastic for those of us who are teaching languages. Great question. If translating into another language, oh, the translation looks good. How do you check, how do you verify that it's accurate? You know, that's a great question. My tool is to ask a person who speaks the language. So I'd be really curious to know if other people have specific ways that they vet the translations. Oh, Jason is asking a good question. On the roadmap, is it going to be able to do editable images within Google Drawings or something? That's a great question. I know we can edit videos, and but I haven't seen Google Drawing editing. But that's a good thing to suggest to Google, and they really do take customer feedback. Yeah, they take it really well. Okay, so I want to show you, so like that would be an example of using images, but this, again, I think, again, the sky is the limit as far as how you could use those images. So I have some here. We're going to look at how fast we're going through things. Yay. Okay. So maybe, for example, you're teaching algebra and you want to teach, this is your on the top of your syllabus. So you show like what you're teaching, and then you do that in Spanish. Maybe you're helping parents apply for college with their students and you want to give them the application process. Maybe you know, you're teaching a math concept that's tricky and you want to give visual resources for that. So there's lots of ways that you could use these images. And I see that down here, that there's some recommendations in the chat too. I'm curious what thoughts you have. Like, what are some ideas you have of how you might use the image feature, or how you have used it? Sorry. I do have some ideas here. And if you're like, wow, this is cool, I'm trying it right now, feel free to like zone out when I'm saying next, because this is being recorded. You can always come back to it. For those of you who teach students with diverse learning needs, one thing that can be really helpful is using like visual aids, social stories for students. Like, this is what we do between lunch and getting back to class, or something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's a great prompt, Edward. That's a great prompt. Yep, exactly. Stacy's saying you can use images for step-by-step direction with kids. Yeah, announcements are great. Infographics. How to make an Italian style lasagna from scratch. Edward, will you ask Gemini to do that and then share with us what they say? Because I would just love to see that. I would love to see the image for that. And I would also love for any like Italians to say if they would or would not eat that lasagna based on the recommendation. Those are amazing suggestions. Okay, so that's using images. So that's one of the tools, right? But that's not the only one. You'll see that down here, there's this plus sign. And you'll see it also has creating music. So if I change that to create music, and I actually may start a new chat just so that you can kind of see what it looks like when I start. You, as a teacher, will have the ability to create songs based on whatever you want. And what's nice is you can prompt for the kind of genre that you would like it to create, or you can choose one of the genres that they have here. Okay, so like if I wanted to make a Latin pop song, make a Latin pop song about the foundation of ancient Egypt and how geography helped form Egypt. That's an excellent prompt. Please just copy that prompt and use that exclusively for all of your learning. No, but let's see what it does with that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit flash, and we'll see what it does with that. Now, while it is working on that, okay, I'm going to actually share with you the song that I made about Egypt. Now, this was the hip hop genre, so I'm going to see if I can find it. Yep. All right, you ready?
Hey, Rachel, do you want to share the audio? The audio on that tab isn't playing.
I love that. This is awesome because we definitely shared. Hold on, we practiced sharing. Let me just make sure. Let me reshare. We'll do this again. Okay. This is great. We're going to do Windows, share system audio. Here we go. I was listening and jamming all by myself.
You're just modeling what they need to do when they show this. It's all good.
One. I love it. All right. Are we ready? Okay. We're starting from scratch. Let me see if you can hear it now.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Check the flow. That Nile topography, a lesson in economy. Surrounded by the arid land, they had a master plan. The inundation came each year, washed away the fear. Adapted to the cycle's grace, set the human pace. Built irrigation, controlled the flow, made the harvest grow. That agricultural surplus served a higher purpose. Resource demands met with the yield on a fertile field. Led to population's fast ascent, a new settlement. How environment built the state, now you got it straight.
And there you have it. Your own rap about how geography impacted the founding of ancient Egypt. Now, okay, my account is giving me a hard time, this particular account, because it originally had me as a student. And so students are not going to be able to just create songs unless they're in the over 18 organizational unit. So if it's giving you lyrics instead of the actual song, likely you're in the wrong organizational unit. A fun fact that I learned today. But in my other account, it made that song for you. So you're going to have to just take my word for it that you can make music related to whatever unit you're having. So again, curious, what are some of the ideas that you have about how you might utilize a 30-second, you have 30 seconds, a 30-second song about the things that you're teaching or the things that you're working with. Yeah, it is catchy. You need the full song. I know, right? One of the things I was saying with the full song, students love that. So if you gave them the hook or something, like just create the hook, then they could like write the verses and then they play the hook, they love that. To help remember mnemonic devices, absolutely. Content review, absolutely. All of these, yes. Class procedures that they sing. What a good idea. Yes, for sure. Excellent. Characterization. Yep. Oh, you have to know the character enough to like in the style of, yeah. Because you're not gonna like have, like chipper and happy music for like Iago from Othello, right? Yeah, fantastic. So music is another option for you. Definitely share with us some other ideas that you have about that. Stacy says a college student made some of these to play in the car to listen to. Like, I want to think that's just funny, but full disclosure, I made an anthem for the end of the school year, and that song was in my head for weeks. I could still, ooh, like I can actually like sing it for you because it was so jazzy. So some of the songs are great. Willie is saying music and visuals appeal to different modalities. Absolutely. So like what we're talking about here is there's lots of ways to learn. And so there's lots of ways that we can bring in extra resources to support all of the different learning styles and needs of our students. Okay, so music is another option for you. Now, another tool that you have access to is going to be called guided learning. So you'll see it right here. Right now, guided learning is in Gemini, but it actually is also going to be coming as an integration into Google Classroom. And it's really cool because what guided learning allows us to do is it allows us to, instead of just giving an answer to a prompt, right? So like if I said like, you know, how did Egypt become a civilization, right? It's not going to just give an answer. It's going to say, what do you want to learn? So I'll say, I want to learn how to make a lasagna. No, it's just kidding. How Egypt became a civilization. Okay. I'm a 6th grade student who reads at a 4th grade reading level. Obviously, the student may or may not know that about themselves, but you certainly can. Okay. So now I'm going to say it's under learning. So I'm going to hit this submit and see what it comes up with for guided learning for me. So it's not going to just tell me the answer. It's actually going to give me some ideas of how I could start with learning. It's going to ask me questions. Okay. So you'll see it's giving me pictures. Egypt became a great civilization. And then it says, we'll explore this amazing journey, how it happened together. I'm going to ask you questions along the way so we can learn step by step. To start, which part of the story would you like to explore first? Okay. I see that there's a lasagna chat in the chat, and I can't wait to come back to that. Right. Yeah. So the biggest challenge right now with Gemini for Teens Access is the ability to only have guided learning parameters versus straight. Yep, 100%. So I think what Christy is referring to is that sometimes people want to have Gemini turned off for students for all kinds of reasons. And it can be tricky to have it set up so that teens can learn with guided learning, but not necessarily have the full access to the Gemini app. Absolutely, I hear that. A couple things I want to tell you, and if you want more info about like some of Google's responses to that, feel free to write that question in the note catcher. A couple things that I want to just like point out here is at the bottom of this prompt, and all prompts are at the bottom of all the answers, you'll see there's these 3 little dots. And I love that it's doing that. And one of the things that I can do, in addition to all of these things, is I can listen. So I'm going to hit listen.
Ancient Egypt became a great civilization, a large, organized group of people with their own rules and ways of life, mostly because of one important thing, the Nile River. Ancient Egypt became a great civilization, a large, organized group of people with their own.
Cool. Okay, so so you'll see that read along and the ability to do the immersive reader is an accessible tool as well. So if you have students who are doing guided learning or something like this, they're going to be able to have it read to them. So even if the text is too complicated or above their reading level, it's going to be able to read aloud to them. Yeah. Thanks, Jess. Jess is doing the good work of talking about how to how some of the ways you can set up the different accounts to give students access. I also like that guided learning often gives images to help and support, as well as like little emojis to make it a little more fun and interesting. So that's some of the ways that you can do guided learning. Coming soon to a classroom, if you're using Google Classroom, coming soon to Google Classroom near you, there will be a guided learning tab in Google Classroom, and it will allow you to share from Google Classroom guided learning lessons, where you could say like, hey, teach the students about how to, how ancient Egypt started. And what's cool about that is that in addition to then it being an assignment for them, they'll go to Google Classroom, open that assignment, click on it, is that as a teacher, you will then get access to insights about the student's conversation. So it'll be overall insights like, hey, overall, these students seem to really understand the concepts. These students need more support in understanding how geography works with, ancient civilizations. And it will give you level up to the level of drilling down to student where you can actually read their full conversation they had in guided learning. If you want to, you can go to that student, click on it, and you can actually read their full conversation that they had to get insights into how the student is interacting with the tool. So that's coming soon to a Google Classroom near you. We've been told it's going to come out in August. So that's exciting. Hopefully you'll start to see that show up. If you're a Google Classroom user, you'll start to see that show up soon. Any questions about guided learning that haven't been answered? Yeah, Manuel, thank you. You can adjust the rating level in your initial prompts, and I do recommend doing that. And honestly, like, unless there's a good reason to have it at like a high level, I might make it an easier prompt just so that it's a more engaging and like easy to conversational experience for students as they're learning. Cool. Okay, so then the other and last way that you can use these tools is deep research. And I'm going to click there. I'm going to say, I am a 6th grade teacher who is teaching ancient civilizations, ancient Egypt, to my students in California. I need resources to support me in creating meaningful lessons and activities. Okay, so what deep research is going to do is it's going to actually create a full research plan for me. So whereas with guided learning is going to guide me through how to learn, deep research is actually going to give me resources and help me with researching. Okay, so it's basically like my paralegal admin assistant, right? Okay, it's going to give me all of like, here's the case documents. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like and how it's different from guided learning. So first, what it will do is generate a research plan. We're going to give it a second to do that. And you'll see right here, it says, okay, this is its plan. It's going to tackle, first, it's going to research a bunch of websites, and it's going to show me what websites it's planning to research, as well as what it's planning to find for me, okay? So if I want to change any of that, I can. And then it's going to analyze the results and create a report. It's going to do the research for me. So I'm going to say start research. And it's actually going to research for me. Now I'm going to let it, oh, that was faster than I thought it was going to be. I was going to let it go and show you my baked version on the other side, but maybe we'll let this go. Jason's asking a question about guided learning, to change the default for students to guided learning or have teachers force where appropriate. I think what you're asking is, could we like force students to use guided learning instead of just the regular Gemini prompting? I don't have a full answer for that. What I can say is the tool that it is when you're using guided learning, the tool we just talked about in Google Classroom, when they push it out, it will push out as a guided learning activity, not as like the regular Gemini. But there isn't, and you'll be able to see what students prompt and ask. That's kind of, it's like an actual integration with Google Classroom versus just like directing them to the Gemini tool. But there's not necessarily like one way where you could like say like, but you can't go to Gemini and ask questions and ask, you could still have the students going to Gemini to find information. I don't know if that answers your question. Feel free to ask follow-up questions. Okay, so what this does is it's bringing it's actually researching for me and giving me all of these research tools. Okay, so truly, this is like a pretty in-depth tool. It's great for higher ed, or if you're, working on your PhD, or for students who are doing like a Genius project or something, and they want to like just see like what research is already out there. It like kind of gives you like, how you had to do like the annotated bibliographies and stuff, or you had to like, this was like a part of our master's program. You had to actually see what research was already out there. So it's giving you all of those things. That's what deep research is doing. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up here a couple of the links for, you'll see all of this is in the slides, the guided learning and deep research. But here's some of my ideas of how you might use some of these tools in your classroom. But I'm curious to hear from you how you might use the Gemini app in your classroom, these tools, or in your school. Totally. So there's some great ideas of how we can lock students into using specific websites. For sure, class tools, if you're not familiar with it, you can use, you can like set specific websites that students can and cannot go to, and that would allow them to be locked in to just using guided learning. It's a great idea. Okay. No other ideas? If you have other ideas, please share them. And thank you for the questions. They're really helpful for all of us as we learn. All right. So there's two different things that I want to share with you, but because of time, I don't know if I'll have time to do both. So it's a choose your own adventure. We can learn about Canvas, which is another tool within Gemini that lets you edit docs or create websites, or even do vibe coding, like create resources through coding, where it does the coding for you. Or we can learn about Notebook LM, which is like it's basically a tool that allows you to create like a full resource guide that has all kinds of like opportunities. Like it can make a podcast for you about those resources. It can do a chat for you about the resources, slides, all those sorts of things. My instinct is to do Notebook LM, but can you put in your chat what you would prefer to learn about? And Risa already said Notebook LM, so you got to speak now if you'd like it to be otherwise. I got 2 Notebook LMs, so I'm going to go with it. Okay. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So Notebook LM is awesome. So to get to Notebook LM, it's actually not in Gemini. It is, it's using Gemini, but it's not in the Gemini app. So to get to Notebook LM, I want you to go to notebooklm.google.com. Okay. And that will take you to the like kind of landing page for Notebook LM. If it's your first time, it'll, guide you through setting up the account or whatever. So here's what Notebook, let me go here and I'm going to go to our Notebook LM so you can kind of see the overview. All right, so it is going to allow you to generate like all of these resources and questions and prompts from specific materials that you provide for it. So it basically creates a contained learning space that is pulling, instead of pulling just from like the general internet, the way that Gemini is, it's pulling from specific resources that you provide. So it's going to become like an expert in whatever resources you're providing. And why that's great is, as a teacher, you may not want it using the whole internet. The internet is a wild and scary place. You may want it only using the, the AP resources that you've provided for your AP physics exam. You don't want it using, physics for dummies that's on the internet, right? So this creates like a contained space for you. And then it gives you a ton of resources that you can create from that. So what you're going to do is we're going to be creating a notebook, which is that contained space. You're going to be adding resources. It analyzes those resources and gives an overview of what like the theme of the notebook is. And then it gives you a chat, like a prompting chat that you can chat with to to learn more about the topic you're covering. And then it has the beauty of it is it has a studio that gives you tons of resources that you can use pulling from those resources you shared. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of Notebook LM. You'll see it looks like this. And I am going to hop right over to Notebook LM so you can see what this looks like. So I'm going to create a new notebook here, but you'll see we have the Ancient Egypt one that we can go back to if we need to. So when I open up a new notebook, what it's going to ask is it's going to ask me to provide those resources for this notebook. So if I'm going to do the Ancient Egypt, I might say, I can upload a file. I have my California 6th grade history standards. I can upload that file, right? I can also search the web for resources. So I can say Ancient Egypt resources for 6th grade. Okay, and then I'm going to just hit the arrow, and it's going to research some websites for me. This, you'll see when I only had one resource, it just was pulling from that resource. And now it gave me a bunch of sources. You'll see how I've added, I see there's all these websites now about Ancient Egypt. And what's nice is it can say, yeah, I want all these, but this Ancient Egypt ABC book, maybe I don't want that. Or maybe I want only that. Or maybe I don't want the Mummy's PowerPoint, okay? Because I don't know what that is, right? So I can check and uncheck which resources I want to import to this document. And so the way I want, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose all of them. I hit import. So we'll import all of those resources into my notebook. And then what you'll see is it's going to update the summary once it's imported all of those. Summary chat. We'll give it a second. So it's giving me some questions, but you'll see this middle part while I'm over here. And by the way, you can add sources from YouTube. You can add them from your Google Drive. So if I have a resource, like in this case I do, if I have a resource about like the Nile Valley, a Google Doc, I can import that as well. So you can insert stuff. So if you have your unit plans, or you have PDF texts, PDFs that you're reading of the short stories you're reading, you can import all of that from your drive as well. All right, so I've got all of that. And now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say, cool. I'm going to say, let's, how did the Nile River impact ancient Egypt's founding? Okay, so this is just the chat where I can ask any questions. And again, it's only pulling from these resources to give me an answer. It's going to give me an answer. We'll let it read its sources and then give me a response. Now, what I think is kind of cool about this is just regular prompting. You can still use your parts prompting. Students can do this as well. But you'll see this is too many words for me. It's just too much text, okay? For me personally, because I like bullet points. So I want you to notice about this chat that there's these little lines up here, the configure notebook. And this is magical because it allows you to decide how you want the chat to look. You can configure that chat. So you can go to custom. You can say, use a 4th grade reading level to respond. Use simple sentences. Be as concise as possible. Do not hallucinate. Whatever you want to say to make it custom, okay? And then you can say your response length. I'm going to say shorter, and I'm going to say save. Say, okay, now I'm going to ask that same question again. And we're going to see how that changes things for us. That might have gone too far. I'm not gonna lie, that might have gone too far for us. So, but you can play with that and play with the configuration to get it to be like bullet points or however you want to however you want it to respond, and how you the way that you want it to chat with you in the chat, and likewise the way you'd want it to chat with your students. Okay, so again, you're creating a closed environment, so you have a little more control in configuring this. I'd also like to just note that it does show where it's pulling the resources from, so you can see which specific documents that you have over here it's grabbing those resources from. What questions do you have so far about adding resources or about the chat? Okay. So then where the beauty really comes in is the studio tab that you have on the side. And what the studio is going to let you do is make resources related to these resources that you shared. So my favorite is the audio overview, because it's basically like a podcast that allows you to hear about this information, but as a podcast format. So I'm going to play the podcast that I created here really quickly. Oh, this is the
How
video.
did ancient Egypt build a monumental civilization in the middle of a barren desert? To free up that much labor, you need a massive food surplus.
Okay, so that's a video, right? I also can see, let me find my audio. Here's the debate, the audio debate, like a podcast.
Welcome to the debate. So when we picture the birth of ancient Egypt, I think we usually picture, well, abundance.
Right. Yeah.
Like endless rivers of grain, predictable floods, a civilization that's practically growing itself in this fertile oasis. And the traditional...
All right, so you can pause. What's great about this is that you can do the audio, like you can customize that, and you can even do a version where you can interrupt as an audience member and have a conversation with the hosts, and they'll respond to your questions. So you'll be like, hey, but what about this? And they'll respond. But there's tons of resources. You can have a slide deck created for you. You could have flashcards created for you, mind maps, quizzes, and then really cool, a study guide that shows you like all of these resources. Let's prepare for the final. You have a study guide, okay? And Stacy's saying you control the resources, which is so awesome. So it gives you the option to be able to only include the things that they really need to know. So it's not giving information that's not actually going to be tested, okay? So I know we're getting to the end of our time, unfortunately, but I'm curious, what are some ideas that you have about how you could use something like Notebook LM in your classroom? Yeah, the study guide is amazing. So say to give teachers some eyes on how students interact with Notebook LM. Yeah, Christy's asking, is it slated to like in the same way that you can see the conversations with guided learning? Is that going to happen with Notebook LM? That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure what the roadmap is for that with Notebook LM. I'm curious if anyone else from my team knows, but I would not be surprised if, I know like recently you're going to be able to share the notebook outside of your domain, for example. You used to not be able to. So you can share outside of your domain, so you could share it with other people, like parents. So if you wanted to create like a FAQ about the school policies, you could do that. And it is an integration that's coming to Google Classroom where you can share the notebooks, and you can choose whether you share the whole notebook or you share just the chat feature. But the insights into how students are using it, I will, let me check and see if they said what it all. So I'll put that in the thing and the note catcher. So it's a great question. Oh, creating podcasts in other languages for multilingual learners. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yes. That's a really good idea. And Jess is saying you can configure the Notebook LM chat to be a learning guide. Absolutely. Okay. There's so much here. I wish I could share this research, but I'm hoping that you can take these resources that we've shared, and you can you can use them in your own context. Unfortunately, we're at the end of time, and I would really, really love it. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Before we do anything else, I have to share Edward's lasagna graphic with you. And this one does use bechamel, which there was an argument in the chat. So thank you. Thank you, Edward. Okay, so I know that was like a very ambitious agenda, and these slides are available for you to go through, and we would love to do additional training with you. So please reach out to us if you have ways that we can support you. We would love to be able to do that. I would love it personally if you could fill out this training feedback form, which the link for it is also in the chat, and it's also in the note catching doc that you have. This is so helpful for us. We take your feedback so seriously. If you loved it, we would love to know that. That feels great. Obviously, if there were things you would change, we'd love to hear that too, because that's just going to make us better. And I want to hand things over to Bridget, who can share just a little, while you're filling out the form, can share just a little bit more about Google for Education CITE and how CDW has been supporting with that, because there's a couple of cool updates there.
Hi, team. We are at time, so I'm going to make it quick. Following the feedback survey, you're going to see slides regarding the training that we do. So we do custom PD, so we can basically hop on a call to figure out what your district is needing for Gemini training, and we offer paid engagements. So there's some information in there. Also, just noting that AI Pro and Amplified were added to the CITE contract of January 1st, 2026. So when you get this deck, please just review what's now been added to the CITE contract and all of the additional paid training we can do. But that's it. It's all on the deck. So we don't need to go slide by slide. Rachel, I think we can wrap. I really wanted to save the time for the content, which is the most important. So thank you everyone so much. Rachel, that was phenomenal as always.
Great. Well, thank you. I am going to stick on for just a second. If you have questions, we would love to continue to answer those. Like I said, if you have questions that we didn't answer, we'll also go through the chat and put some of those in the note catcher so that you have those answers in perpetuity. But please feel free to ask those questions while we stick around. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We love being able to share the time with you. And we hope that you can bring a couple of things back to your schools from today.
Thank you, Rachel. On behalf of CITE, thank you everybody for coming on again. This webinar will be recorded, so you'll have access to it via the CITE website as well. Thank you again.